All right, it's all you, sir.
All right, this is Kent Hovind, May 14th, 2015. Many people have asked for just a brief summary of what on earth is this case about, what happened anyway, so I thought I'd try to summarize it as simply as possible. If you want more details, all this stuff is documented on quite a few websites, 2peter3.com, freekenthovind.com, and Rudy's Lone Star 1776 YouTube channel. Here's the short summary of what happened. In 1989, my wife and I and 3 kids and the dog moved to Pensacola so she could finish her music degree. Shortly thereafter, I began the ministry Creation Science Evangelism, speaking on creation and evolution and dinosaurs, and traveling all over the place. The ministry began to grow. Within a couple of years, we moved over to 29 Cummings Road. God supplied the house right across the street from the school so the kids could walk to school. It was wonderful. It began to grow. I was traveling and speaking quite a few places. In 1999, Pastor Mooneyhan said, Kent, would you like to become part of our church ministry? I didn't understand and still don't understand all about structuring a ministry, but I said sure. So he had a youth ministry, a children's church ministry, and he said we'll just have a creation ministry and you'll come under our umbrella, a Faith Baptist Fellowship. I said great. And so he said the church had been established in the 1800s, way before there was a 501c3. So they were not a 501c3 church, just a regular church like America's had for centuries. Okay, everything's fine. He said, now Kent, if you withdraw money from the bank, try to take it out in amounts less than $10,000 because the bank has to fill out a bunch of forms and stuff, and it just avoids all the paperwork. I said, okay. He said, if you need over $10,000, no problem, and we did several times. So from about the year 2000, maybe late 99, until the middle of 2002, so for about 2.5 years, the ministry's cash withdrawals grew to meet needs because several things were happening at the same time. We were opening Dinosaur Adventureland in my backyard, the theme park, science center, museum, and we had all kinds of things we had to build and buy for Dinosaur Adventureland. We're also buying up some neighborhood properties and have to remodel them. And we had a lot of college students coming over to work whatever hours they could, odd hours, so rather than give everybody credit cards, which runs credit risk, we just dealt with cash. And it slowly grew to where my wife was getting about $9,500 every 12 days, or almost every 2 weeks. And so we're using cash for all these different things. Everything's fine. 2002, in August of 2002, we stopped and got credit cards. So the cash withdrawals stopped, and no problem. 4 years later, I get arrested in 2006, and they said, you're charged with structuring. I said, what on earth is that? They said, well, you took the money out of your bank in amounts less than $10,000. Okay, and that's a crime? Well, yeah, you're avoiding the cash transaction report. Well, now hold it. First of all, that's a report the bank does, not me. Secondly, the bank is supposed to fill out a suspicious transaction report if there's something suspicious. They never did that. We've been at that same bank for nearly, I don't know, 15 years maybe? A long time. I mean, everybody, my wife did all the banking, so they all knew her, come in, just take cash out, and never any suspicion of anything wrong. There's no drugs involved. Congress, in their great wisdom, passed this structuring law, and one of the dumbest laws ever passed in the history of humanity. It's none of the bank's business or anybody's business what you do with your money. But because of that dumb structuring law,
this call is from the San Diego County Sheriff's Office.
They arrested both my wife and I, and that's an interesting story. We took it to trial because we said there's no crime here. And even both of our attorneys said there is no crime here. Don't worry. Don't even give a defense. So we did not give a defense. That was a mistake. But then the judge said, my attorney's reading the jury instructions. He said, folks, if you found the Hovins took out more than $10,000, which is what the law says, you must find them guilty. Well, we never did that, of course, and so it was less than $10,000. So the judge changed the jury instructions at the end of trial to say, if you find they took out less than $10,000, you must find them guilty. And so the jury, totally confused by all this, said, well, obviously they took out less than $10,000. Okay, they're guilty. So we're found guilty. The judge sentences me to 10 years and my wife to a year and a day. I'm hauled off to prison for taking ministry money out of the ministry bank to pay ministry bills 4 years earlier and 5 years earlier. back in 99 to 2002, and it stopped in mid-2000. And we didn't stop because we knew about the law. We stopped because we got some credit cards for people to use. It was absolutely not a problem. Anyway, so not only, these laws were designed to catch drug dealers who were dealing in cash. I've never taken any drugs. I did take an aspirin about 6 months ago, and that's it. I've never tasted alcohol in my life. I'm 62. So we were arrested, sent to prison for structuring. Not only that, they said that money that was taken out over those years, that $400-some thousand, you have to forfeit that to the government. My attorney said, what on earth for? You don't forfeit. Yeah, you're right, forfeit this money to the... So not only do you go to prison, you now owe $400,000 to the government. Well, the government didn't earn that money. They did absolutely nothing, zero, nothing for that money. That was ministry money and donated or earned in legitimate ways, stored in a legitimate bank account, a legitimate ministry, part of Faith Baptist Fellowship, no problems whatsoever, nothing illegal at all. But they said, yep, now you owe $400,000. Well, the U.S. Attorney discovered Kent Hovind doesn't own anything. I live in a church parsonage. I drive a church van. Everything I get goes back into the church ministry. So they said, oh, then we want to seize that church property. The trustees right away said, excuse me, that's not his. You can't seize that. That belongs to the church. It's not even in his name. Some of them were earlier, but they haven't been for years in his name. It's all donated to the church ministry. And so with no trial, no hearing, nothing, the judge ruled, yep, you may seize the church property because I'm going to declare that there is no church. That belongs to Kent Hovind personally. And I think it should cause great alarm if any federal judge or any federal employee, period, can determine what is and is not a church ministry. That ought to raise every red-blooded American's blood pressure. Like, what have we done here? So now we got the real dumb. Not only is me going to prison for structured funds, they want to seize the money. Of course, there is no money to seize, so they seize the church bank account. The U.S. Attorney then goes down and seizes the bank account. A few weeks later, he flies to Detroit to have sex with a 5-year-old, finds out he's a sex pervert for children, and he gets caught, arrested, and hangs himself in his prison cell October 5th, 2007. That was the U.S. Attorney that helped put me in prison. So now we got several levels of dumb here. We got a really dumb law, the structuring law, enforced in a way it's not at all intended for it to be enforced. It's for drug dealers, okay? But they're enforcing it against the church ministry. So then they want to substitute the church property for the structured money that they can't find. First of all, they don't deserve that structured money. It was spent. It's gone. It's been gone for 4 years. There's nothing criminal about it. So now they say, yep, you can substitute the church ministry for that. So they go down to the courthouse and change the title on all the properties to say this now belongs to the U.S. government. Of course, my son Eric is frantic. Hey, you're trying to run a ministry here. What do I do? And the government says, well, you stay there until we're ready to sell it. And so he stays there on the property, and they keep threatening to move everybody out in 30 days if they don't buy the property. The trustees are fighting this in court, and I am being transferred all over the country. I've been moved 23 times in the federal system and 5 times here in the county jail. I've been in jail 1 year, 2 days. So they're fighting this. I move up to Berlin, New Hampshire, and my new cellmate comes in who knows a lot about real estate, and he says, well, Kent, have you filed a Bivens claim? I said, I don't know what that is, and we can explain all that on the other videos we've done here. So I filed a Bivens suit, which keeps the case active, and then I filed a lis pendens, which simply says, hey, litigation is pending. You might want to be careful if you buy that property because it's still a subject of litigation. And so they arrest me again, and I'm in county jail for a year because they want to charge me with mail fraud and conspiracy to commit mail fraud for filing this lis pendens. Each of those 2 charges carries 20 years maximum. So they could, in theory, give me 40 years in prison for mail fraud over a lis pendens over property that still is very much in litigation. That's what this case is about. I think it's dumb and evil and wrong on multiple levels. And everything should be investigated, including the original case. And people need to be calling their congressman, saying, what are you doing? Your job is to investigate this kind of stuff. They have a legitimate right to do that. And Congress, you should repeal this stupid structuring law. It's none of anybody's business what people do with their money. If it's earned in legitimate ways and spent in legitimate ways, leave them alone. It's certainly not your right to seize it. But that's what this case is all about in a nutshell. Yeah, I think it ties into 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10. The love of money is the root of all evil. This is the government greed, wanting church ministry property that they had nothing to do with earning or building or buying. Nothing whatsoever. They want to sign a few pieces of paper and get $400,000. What a slick scam. That's exactly what's going on here. So there's a lot more details about this, but I don't know if they're going to...
This call is from the San Diego County Sheriff's Office.
In trial, but Rudy can show you what's happened. I have been in prison 8.5 years over this stupid structuring law that should be repealed. That's kind of a summary. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I have nothing to hide. Our policy for this trial is Gideon's policy. When you're outnumbered like I am, you shine the light and make a lot of noise. That's what Gideon did in the book of Judges, and that's all we can do. There was no way to beat these folks in trial. They win 99% of their trials. And it's not because they're good lawyers, it's because it's not a level playing field. So pray that we can win. I hope the jury knows that when I walk in, I am 100% not guilty. That's where they're supposed to start. Attorneys should be able to walk into the jury first day, first moment of trial, and say, folks, if you had to vote right now, is my client guilty or not guilty? And if the jury says, we don't know, we haven't heard the evidence yet, then the jury should all be dismissed. Because in American law, you're innocent until proven guilty. The jury should start off saying, this guy's 100% innocent. They've got to drag him all the way to guilty. The reality is, people are enamored by the big federal courthouse. Oh, wow, federal judge, federal court, U.S. attorney. He must be guilty of something. And so that's the reality. But what it's supposed to be is, nope, innocent until proven guilty. And it's sad that it's not that way, and it needs to be. So if you get a chance to get on a jury, turn this mess around. Let's get our country back to its founding fathers' ideals and principles. That would be a great help. I appreciate all your prayers in this. We'll see how it works out next week. Thank you, Rudy. That's all.